Hello, welcome to Code Images. This video is meant for those who missed out on the early things which we've done so far in the group. So I thought of making a very easy and kind of short video. It's not going to be as detailed or as interactive and fun of what we did in class. I would have sent you exactly what we did in the class, but the messages are too much. The whole thing is too much, close to 300. It's even more than 300. I think it's up to 400, and that is so intimidating. It's not as though most of them are just very 1 minute videos, 5 seconds, audio rather, are just they're just normal chatting. So this video is meant to try to help you relate what we've done so far. Now, in coding, you need to understand that in life, communication is a way of passing idea and thoughts, information, right? So if you must pass the level of performance of results which you want determines the level of communication which you pass. So if you want a very good performance, it means that you have to give a very good information. You need to communicate your idea. So the level of performance which you can get as a result of something is determined by the level of understanding which whosoever is receiving or whatsoever is receiving your information is able to reach. So determine how much you're able to communicate this idea and how well it was understood. So when dealing with computers in coding, coding is a language that is meant for the computer. It's a language that the computer understands. So for you to be able to communicate to the computer, for the computer to be able to run some setting or perform something for you or create something, you need to use the language which the computer understands. And there are several languages, thousands of them. So amongst others, we'll be using JavaScript as our course of studying coding, which is easy. The purpose or the reason for this choosing JavaScript is because JavaScript is a language that I love in the sense that it is dynamic, it is not intimidating, it's something that will build your foresight to see ahead, to build your capacity, to build your passion, to increase your interest, not something that will want to drive you away or to make you lose interest in coding. So that is the purpose or the reason why we are choosing or studying JavaScript in this course. So on this tutorial, now in the tutorial we've learned several things. We've learned about data type, we've learned about variables, we've learned about a lot. So far we've studied the data type, we've studied variable, we've done how to assign a variable to a so we've done how to assign data to a variable, we've talked about comment, we've talked about how to print something on a console, we've talked about function, we've talked about JavaScript being dynamic, and we've talked about global constant as well. We've also talked about for loops and while loops as well. We've talked about intervals. We've also talked about math flow. We've talked about smart random. We've talked about time arcs. We've talked about standard ways of writing increment and decrement, like restructuring. That's not a course, but it's just a way of improving on what we've learned. So funny enough as well, we've talked about how to buy cheap data. Just in order to be able to continue this course at ease, we can understand we make use of data. So most people, one of the challenge or issues they have is that I don't have data, so ways to get data. So you want to even get bothered or worry much, you have to think twice about it. So we also talked about on-click inventation and if statement. So without wasting more time, let's see how we can go through these lessons we've learned so far. So to start, we said that data, as you know, is information. Data is information, is detail. So data comes in different types. Data can come in as a number, it can come as a text, like an alphabet, letters. You know what I mean? Just maybe let's take a Holy Bible or a storybook. The storybook is majorly written in letters, alphabets, and they also make use with numbers when they want to describe. 50 people, let's say 50 people travel to abroad from 50 people traveled to the okay, let's say the Nigerian government sponsored 50 people to study abroad. Now that's an example. The Nigerian government studied 50 people to study abroad. So the information is true. The Nigerian government uh, sponsored some people to study abroad. Some people to study abroad. So that's one information. The second information is what is this value? How many people did Nigeria government sponsored, so it's 50. So you see, we made use of number and letters there, which is text or select a sentence. So there are ways data can come. This is data. Data is information. So data can come in several forms, and this form in which data can come is what we know to be the types of data. So we have several types of data. We have the number data type. We have the string data type. We have the uh, Boolean data type. We have the non NULL NULL. We have the non data type and we have the undefined. I come again. Number data type. We have the string data type, the Boolean data type, the non and the undefined. So the number data type is just number, as easy as it is, and number are two types. So numbers are of two types. We have the decimal numbers and the whole number. So decimal numbers are numbers that have points. Example 1.5, 0.8, 3.5. You see that point in all these things. While whole numbers are numbers that don't have points. So sorry I'm too fast. It's just a way to make the video short. I'm just giving you the basic concept of it. So numbers are numbers that don't have points. You can see 100, 100, 18, 28, 50, 13. They don't have points. These are whole numbers. So these are two type of numbers. So for the decimal numbers, which are numbers that have points in coding or in JavaScript, these numbers are regarded as floating point numbers, numbers that have points. While for numbers that don't have points, which is the whole numbers, they are regarded in JavaScript to be the integers. So you don't need to bother your mind about that. Just know that types of number data, and one of them is number data type. So moving straight to the next data type is string. So when I was trying to explain, I was using the word later in those sentences. I was example I made about the storybook. Normally, I should have just said string, but you see, string can be anything. It can be a number, it can be an alphabet, it can be a symbol, it can be whatever it may be. But whatever it is, it can even be your entire code. But whatever it is, for say, it has to be written in between quotes. So, what makes a string is the fact that it is written in between quotes. That's why the simplest definition is a string is a series of characters. So it is written in between quotes, either single quote or double quote. That is what makes it string. So if you to write a full notebook and you paste it in your code and you begin it with a double quote and end with a double quote, those full things which you've written is a string because it is in between a quote, either double or single. So data is information, and data types are the ways this information can come. So it can come as a number, it can come as a string, and the string is anything that is written inside or in between quotes. It can come in the form of true or false, it can come in the form of none, NULL, and it can come being undefined. So that was what we discussed to be about data types. And we move straight to variables. We made the example of a book. Simplest one, variables is what is meant to represent these data. So that when you see a data, imagine we have somebody and you want to get the information of that person. This person is called Samuel Dave. This person is called the Samuel Dave and he's 22 years old. So Samuel Dave is what the person is called and he's 22 years old. If you want to get the data of this person, you want to declare a variable. In JavaScript code in general, we have variables. So if you want to create a variable for this person, you say the variable simply means instead of calling the person to write that sentence, you say this person's name is Samuel Dave and his age is 22, that is 22 years old. So variables is what is used to hold data. So instead of in that sentence saying this person is called Samuel Dave and is 22 years old, you can say his name. You can create a variable for that person and assign the name of that person. What's the name? Samuel Dave. You can also create a variable and say age 22 years old. So if variables are used to represent these data, variables are used to store data, just like your bucket that we made example of. Bucket is meant to store water. Water can be that information. Or a much more better example will be your notebook. You see, when you're at school, your lecturer or teacher is giving information, is teaching you about a course, and that course is bunky, right? So that course has a lot of information that you cannot store everything on your head on one particular class. If you have to finish that whole entire course on that class, you can't store them in your head. So you need somewhere to store this information the lecturer is giving, because they are what data. So A wise student will take a notebook, buy a notebook, and write down this information, right? So you will buy a notebook and name that notebook according to the course which the lecturer is taking, and write down the information relating to that course. So when he wants to make reference, all you have to do, I'm searching for so course note. So just look at the name of this what I'm searching for. Then you can make reference to or read whatever I want to get from there. So this note, remember, this note initially was created in the factory, was produced. So that is how variable is. Variable is meant to store data so that you can make use of them or give reference to them later on. So variables are meant to store data and data is information. So variable, the formula for it is that variable is at the left side and string is, oh sorry, and data type is at the right hand side. So when you in JavaScript right now, to make this video short, when you want to create a variable or you want to write a variable in a standard form, you tell the computer now. So to create a variable, if I want to create a variable now, let's say this person which we have, this person, like that example, we said the person's name was what, Samuel Dave, and his age is 22. So give this information to our computer now. Because we want to create something, right? We want to create something, right? Let's give this information to our computer. Let's use it now. We have to communicate to the computer, right? As we talk about communication. And for this course, we're using JavaScript as our language to communicate to the computer. So firstly, I have my app here. The app we are using for this course is called A Code. A Code. So you can go to Play Store, just type A Code. You'll see the app, download it. It's free. We have the one that is paid for and the free version as well. So choose anyone you like, download it. And if you open it for the first time, this is what you should get. You are going to create a file. Now you want to communicate to the computer using a language called JavaScript, right? Now you have to create a file for that because you'll be writing your code. So to create a file, if you look at the top right side of your screen, we have this three dot icon after the pencil icon. So click on it. You see new file. Click on new file. You can give the file any name of your choice. So yeah, I'll say my first project. So give the name my first project.js. JS is short for JavaScript. So to create a file, don't write my first project on JavaScript. No, it's going to produce an error. Write my first project.js. So save it. You see this icon automatically appeared, and there was a play button in between which was not there initially. So now see that's the first step out of the way, telling the computer that we are dealing with JavaScript. I want to speak with you using JavaScript. Now the first thing you want to do, you want to create a variable, right? But before we do that, we've understood the concept of data type, data and variable. We said variable is used to store data because data is information, right? And information can come in any form, which are the data types. Now we've understand that concept. Now we want to create a variable called um of somebody who has a name as Samuel Dave and an age of um 22 years old. So let's quickly do that. Let's say his name. So it will make sense. If you want to create a variable, you can just, okay, this person, you go to a library, you go to his locker, you are looking for name. You go so it has a label, right? So the label for this person's information is called name. So name variable is like a label. It's used to represent information. Get that? So it will make sense to call this variable name, right? Note, you can call it anything you want. When you want to create a variable, you can call it anything you want. So you say name, right? Name. Then you've created, okay. So to create a variable now, to create it, you have to tell the computer that you want to create a variable. So to do that, all you have to do is to say, give it this keyword by saying var, which var is short for variable. So you are telling the computer that you want to create a variable var. There are three ways to create a variable. Here is included this var, making it three. But for basic beginners, let's focusing on this one var. So we have the let and the const, but we won't be using that. So you say var. After the var, you create the name of your variable. So you can give it any name. What's the name? To make sense to give it name, right? Say name because you want to get create a variable which stores the name of the person in question. So the person has a name, right? His name was Samuel Dave. So in order to join or link these two together, on the left side, we have something called assignment. You have to use the assignment operator. So you are saying name is equal to Samuel Dave. That is how it is. So you see, we have the left side and the right side. So the left side is equal to Samuel Dave, Let's see. So we have the left side and we have the right side. So the left side the left side is where you place your variables, and the right side is where you place your data or anything you want the variable to represent. So variable is not only meant to represent data, the variable can even represent a function. So you've created a variable called name. The name of this variable is name. So you gave it a data called somewhere div. So remember, this is not a number, neither is it true or false, which is okay. Now remember, we have types of data, right? We have the number, we have the string, we have the boolean, we have the none, we have the undefined. As it is right now, this is defined because it has a property, it has something. So it is not undefined, it is defined. So undefined cannot be the data here. Like this, it is not equal to none. None, which stands for empty. So we didn't come here and write none for a big demo. You see the color change. This is a data, this is none, this is just off or none. So that was not what we did. So we didn't say true or false. If we are to write true here, you see the color also change. Say also if we are to write false, you see the color also change. But that's not what we did. Now, what is it then? It is not also a number. So meaning it should fall under a string. And we said a string is anything that's written in between quotes. So as it is right now, it is not yet a string. Despite it looks like a string, you have to indicate it as a string. All you have to do, place a quote, either a double quote or single quote. So choose any in between and end with a what. So right now it is a string. So any code you write, you see if you look at the top, if you look at the left side, you have numbers 1, 2. If I'm to copy, you see the numbers increasing. So every line of code you write, you have to terminate it by using this semicolon here. That's why it is. So if I want to create more variables, I can copy by using this arrow, which I see in this place right here, arrow that I see. So I want to create another variable, but this time I want to name it age. And the data here will not be a string, it's going this time around is going to be a number, and it's 22. So this is what we mean by variables. So let's create something else. Let's create another variable. Let's say history. Now we don't know the history of this person, so we don't also want it to be non or undefined. So we're going to say this empty for now, which is none. Just a way of using this or getting to understand these data types. Now should we create other thing? Okay, so this is about creating a variable. This is how to create a variable in JavaScript. So we don't need this okay, let me leave it there, right hand side. So we don't need so this is variable. We have succeeded in creating a variable. Now before we move to functions, I want to teach us about comment. Comment, we talked about comment. Creating a comment, we talked about comment is used to give a short description about something. Now somebody looking at your code, because you're a basic beginner, you need to indicate, because as a basic beginner there are professional ways of writing things, but your mind will not be able to get or understand those things right now. So you need to write your code in a beginner's way. So the person have to, when the person comes to your code, he sees it, you give a short description that you are a beginner, so you understand. Okay, so we have two type of comment. Comment is not what you know to be in websites. Give a, like, what do you think? You write a text. No, that's not comment. Comment here is used to give a description about a code or anything. And you should know that whatever you give as a comment, it is existing in your script. It is in your script right now. Whatever we write here is our script, but the computer does not run it. So you can comment your full work. It's not going to run by the computer. So this is what we mean by a comment. Now, this is what we have up here. We cause an error in our code because why? It is not defined. The computer does not know what it is. It does not know what L is, it does not know what H is, it does not know what S is, it does not know what RHS is, because they're all individual. And right now I see them as a variable. And if it is a variable, firstly it has to be created, it has to be existing, right? So you are telling me that there's a variable called L, H, and S, but it is not existing in our script. So if you want this, is going to, the first error is L. See, L is not defined. So meaning we have the way we define the name H is to not to have defined them individually like that. But I was using it to give a description. I don't want it to run with my code because right now it's running with my code and it's causing an error. But I want this description to be there. So also I want this description to be there. So maybe okay, I want this description to be there. So all I have to do is to say double quote. Now I've commented this. This is an example of comment. Now we have two type of comments. We have the single line comment and the multi-line comment. We talked about that. That's what we talked about in the class, single line and multi-line. As it is right now, this type of comment is a single line comment. So you can see this is just a description. Left hand side carry variable, right hand side carry variable. But let me change this by saying this is a single line comment. And now we have this description in our code. If I to run this, we won't get any error again, any error. So we're in our console right now, but nothing is happening. So I want something to happen in my console. I want to print something in my console. But before that, that's another course, a lesson. Let's finish our comment. We also have the multi-line comment. You can see here, it was only affecting line 2 because line 2 was where we specified we want to comment. So anything on the line we place this our comment is what is going to be affected. It's not going to cross over to the next line, which is number 4. So also if I'm to do the same way, it's not going to go to number 5. That is single line. That's why it's called single line. But if I'm to come over here and use the multi-line, everything below it is going to be affected. So to write or create a multi-line comment, all you have to do is to say forward slash, then star. You can see everything is affected. So I want it to stop somewhere. I can just come here. You can place it anywhere of your choice. You can put it here. So just for clarity, so you can see it very well. You say star, then forward slash. So this for starting it and this is closing it. So you started it by saying star forward slash, sorry, forward slash star, and you closed it by saying star forward slash. So this is an example of this is a multi-line comment. So that is it. So for now, we've talked about variables, data type, and we've also talked about comments. So moving straight to how to write something on our console. On my console, I want my console to display the name of this person for me. So all I have to do is to specify by giving it the keyword called console. Please note this, JavaScript is case sensitive. That is, you cannot just write it anyhow, the keyword the way you want. It must be exactly the way it is. If it is small letter, it must be small letter. If the keyword is in capital letter, it must be in capital letter. So for the var, it is only small letter, not capital. So the console, so we say console then dot log small letters where you can see the color change to green, then put the opening and a closing bracket. So remember, every statement of code writing in a line, you have to terminate it by using because it's semicolon. Please apologize again for the rush. This is a way of making this video short. And then you see Samuel. I want to log in. I want to print this message on my terminal by saying Samuel if. So if I'm to run this is going to show my terminal. This is my console, Samuel Davis. See? So one way, like I talked about professional way of writing things as a beginner, remember Samuel Davis right here above. And anywhere we see name present what Samuel Davis, a neighbor of Samuel Dave. So instead of putting Samuel Dave over and over again, whenever I want to write the name of the person, we can just write name. It's going to give us Samuel Dave. See, it actually works. So this is how to write something on your console. And we also have another one. That one is how to write something on your dialogue. So it is saying alert. So whatever you indicate here is going to be printed on your dialog. So if I'm to run this, I'm going to get the age. So the page at each local says the age of this person 22, then Sam is there. So I don't want this to be run anymore. I want to comment it and single it. So I have to do what forward slash, double forward slash, you got it. So this is about writing something on accounts. You can see it's very easy, very short. And now we're moving to functions. Function is a set of code that is meant to perform specific task or calculate a value. And whatever function you write inside the function does not get called immediately. That is, you can see this what we have here now. We don't have any function in this our script right now. That's why anything we are to code right now is going to be run automatically. So function, anything you write in between your function, anything you write inside of a function will not be executed unless you call on it. So function helps you to manage the execution of your code so that everything will not just be running automatically. Imagine you build a game and each game have a level and you are supposed to purchase level to meet several enemies or perform or win several tasks. So imagine you create a game and everything is just on. You see stage 1 to stage 10 at the same time. The enemy at stage 10, you're already seeing him malfunctioning at one area. So everything is just loading all at the same time. That is because that is rubbish, and that's what function help you to do. So function help you to manage your code. So to create a function, give it the function keyword by saying function. Now please there are two. One is that start with a capital letter F and small letter f. We are using the small letter f, which is function. Then you can give the function any name of your choice. So I'm going to say my func, any name. See then double quotes, opening bracket, closing bracket. See the color also change. Then after the opening bracket, closing bracket, you put this colon bracket here. So opening and closing as well. So uh, code are written in between colon brackets. That's why it is called code block. It is written in between colon brackets. So this is the structure of a function. This is how it is. So this type of function is what we call naming function because you give it a name and that name you are going to be calling when you want this function to run. So I don't want each time my browser just load up, it should just print this text automatically. I want it to load maybe after some time or when I call on it only. So but I want to print something on my console, right? So instead of putting this outside of a function, let me put it inside of a function, right? To maintain my code. So just to so I can see what I have. This is what we've done so far. So if I'm to run this, it's not going to work. Nothing is going to happen because we have not called our code to run. You see, the thing it's not showing any error in our code. One thing about JavaScript I failed to tell you, JavaScript is in JavaScript the code you are writing gets executed from top to bottom. It runs through your entire script from top to bottom just once, just once. So now it has run through my entire script and you see nothing actually happened, but there's no error. It is correct. But the reason why nothing was logged on my console is because we didn't call on the function. You see, we help us to manage our code. So it's only when we call on it, it will get executed. So to call on this function, all you have to say, write the name of the function. The name of the function, yes, was my func. So say my func. Then give it the opening and closing bracket, closing bracket, terminate. So if I have to play this by running it, run this by playing it rather. See, now we get the name someone. If please forgive me the spelling. So So now this is about function. This is what we did about function. You can log anything you want. So moving straight to if statement. So like I say, if statement is a type of function as well, because if statement is a function that runs on its own, you don't need you to call on it because if statement does not have name, like function, this is a naming function that you give reference to, you call it to call it, you have to specify the name. If statement is a function but they don't have name, they could run on their own. And the only situation where they run on their own is when they run due to certain conditions, when the condition is true or false. So remember, true or false is Boolean, right? So this is how to write the if statement. So the if statement, it give you the keyword if, small letter, remember, opening bracket, closing bracket, then colon bracket. So let's do the same thing we did here. Let me copy this and move this over here. So I can just comment this. I don't want this, or rather comment this. Yeah. So if what, let me run this, nothing is going to happen. See, unexpected token. So what is going on here? Is because we've called on an if statement, but we've not given it any meaning. So if what now you are speaking to the computer the same way you are communicating with somebody. If they bring the light, call me, let me come back home. What if they don't bring the light? There won't be any need to call you, right? So now you want to speak to the computer in the same way. If so, it was a condition. If this, or this is what should happen, what you should do. So, what condition you want to give? You are saying, let's say for instance, if and let's create another variable. Let's say man or male. Now this person we are dealing with a male, right? So is he a male? It's true. So this we give it a true data type, which is boolean. So we want to come here and say if name, if male, if this person is a male, if this person is a male, okay. We talked about operators as well in our class. Operators. This double equal to is different from single equal to. Please note, double equal to is saying compare. You are comparing. You are saying compare what is on my left hand side and what is on my right hand side. So what is on my left hand side is male, and male is a variable. And each time I see male, I should see true, right? So I say compare what is on my left hand side and what's on my right hand side, are they the same? So I have on my left hand side male, which is true. So automatically I have my left hand side true, and then my right hand side I want to say if male is equal to true as well, then run this. So we are saying if true on my left hand side and true on my right hand side, then do this. You see, Samuel day. Nice worry. But if I'm to say false, then run this. It's not going to work, but it's not going to show an error as well. So let's try that out. See, it did run and there's no error. Unlike before when we left it empty. It is because we are saying now what we have on our left hand side and right hand side are not the same. So on our left hand we have true, on our left hand right hand we have false. So if I'm to come here and change it to false, our code is going to run. See, now it's working. We have Samuel, Dave. So I can also change it to whatever I want. So this, sorry. So this is if what we have about if statement. Now moving straight up to we have so this is now we've covered among what we said we learned about data type, we learned about variable, we learned about how to assign data to variable, which is what we did here. You've learned that, yes, you've learned it. It's just to put equal to. So we created a variable called name, age, history, and mail, and we assigned this data on the right hand side to it by using the assignment operator, which is equal to. So this is how to assign data to a variable. That's just as simple as it is. They're saying equal to something something. So we learned about comments. We have the single line and the multi-line comment. A single line and a multi-line comment. We've also learned about functions and if statements. So I want to improve on it now. I want to learn about the on-click handler, event handler, the on-click event handler. So what that means is that we are saying that since now we have our code, nothing is running because we've not called our function to run. Our function is not running because we have not called on it right. Now we also have a if statement which is meant to perform another the same task, exact same task. Because if statement also functions that run when the setting condition is what either true or false. So this function ought to run, but it is not running right now because the condition is false. Because on our left hand side we have male, and male is what false, set to false on default. By default it is set to false, and our right hand side we are saying true. So are they the same? No. So it is not going to run. So now I want to run this code on my function. I want to run my function, but I don't want to call on it automatically. Just as we made an example, we said it doesn't get called unless you call on it by saying what specify the name, then putting the opening and closing bracket is going to run. So just to test that, say we get the same message, but that is not what I want. I want it to run only when the user clicks somewhere on the screen. Maybe when the user click on the screen, that is when it should work. So I have to do that. I want to use an event handler. So so this type of handler I want to use is clicking. So on click, I'm saying when the user click something. So I'll say on clicking, which is on click. It's not on clicking or on click. Jesus as it is on click. So we'll tell the computer that when the user click on the screen, so what should happen? So coming again, you're telling the computer when the user click on what? Is it on something, on an element you created? Where do you want this function to call? Where do you want, on what part of the screen do you want the user to click on and this should be executed? Okay, I want it to run anywhere on the screen. So I'll say document. So you have to tell the computer where is it that you want this function to be called when it is clicked. On what area are we clicking actually? What area are we concerned with? So they are saying document dot on click. Now you see the color of the document changed automatically. That's how it should be. So you can also say Windows, but document is better. Document dot on click. So this is how you do it. You are telling the computer that
when somebody click on this anywhere on the screen, then do this. Do what? Run a certain function, right? So I can just come here and say equal to this entire function, or I can just I have my function already. I can just call on it by what? My func. Then it's going to work now. So to see what I have, see, I have saying if the user click on the document, which is the screen, the body, your screen, if you are to click on your screen, call this function which I have created here, my func. So let's run this. See, now it's showing automatically, but that is not what I want. Okay, let's clear this off. Let's clear this off. Instead, I'm going to say equal to. So look at it again. This side is going to be. So I did that to show you the difference between them. When you do equal to the function directly, it's going to call on this function directly. So let's run that now. See, nothing is showing now, unlike the former example. When we call on it directly, it's actually loaded with it because it's, yeah, you got it, because the JavaScript ran our code from top to bottom, executed everything once. So it actually called on it at the same time. So that's the difference between them. So when you, if you need to be sure of what you are doing, you want to call it at the same time, or you want it to load first or click. So now if I'm to click on my screen, you see we get this message. Click on it again. You keep on getting the same messages. So this is what on click can do. So you can see the difference. Now this function, this is what I want. I don't want this function to, just as when a player needs to complete a level of a game to get to the next one, right? So let's say clicking it is the completion of the game. If I'm to click it, this is when I want this stage to come. I complete another stage, not me having all the whole entire stage, assuming this is all the whole entire stage showing at the same time. And yes, where my enemy is, this is I, yes, my enemy, and this is where I am. So everything is just displayed at the same time, like a multiverse of madness that you have in your. So that's what functions help you do. It helps you to manage your code. Your code, whatever you write in your function, does not get called only when you call on it. So right here, we are calling our function using an on-click event handler. So we learned about event handler, on-click event handler. You've also learned it. This is what we did. Now go moving straight to JavaScript being, okay, moving straight to global constant. Global constant. Now to learn global constant, let's create another function. Instead of starting afresh. I can just copy and paste what we have here. Then so you have to give it a separate name. Don't give it the same name. You have to change the name. So I'll say this is my func2. So in this my func2, I want to log out age. So oh my god, I forgot to do this. Okay. Anyway, see the same thing. If I'm to well, it's still good since this is a brief video. If I'm to run this, if I click on it, I'm only going to be getting some here, Dave, right? Because I've not called on my func2. So I want to call on my func2. So if I'm to run this, I'm going to get 22. You see, 22. So you see, this is functions. So what is the idea of variable here? This is what we mean by variable. If I'm to say what do we mean by global constant, global variable here? So what do we mean when we talk about global variable? You see, let me give them a space so that you can actually see for clarity. Now, I'm only dealing with we're not talking on if statement again anymore right now. So we are still on function. Now I want to use this function to explain to us global constant or global variable. So to explain what a global variable or global constant is, you see, from any function I can reference anything I want. I can still come here and reference history, and it's still going to run. You get history. None. So now you see our code is not showing any errors, but watch something. If I'm to take all these variables I created up above, name, age, history, mail, if I'm to create them inside of this function by moving all of them inside, right? Now everything is inside of this function. I created it inside the function. So still on the same example, nothing changed. All I did was just to move all my variables and create it inside this function, right? So and I want to call on this function as well. So I'm saying create this so um this is what I'm doing, right? So look at the code very well. We are saying that function 1, its own work is to create all these variables. Then at the same time log out whatever name is, which is Dev. Function 2, its own work is to log out age and history. So if I'm to run this, let me comment out function 2 first of all, so we can believe that this code is actually running. There's nothing different about the former one, though there's different. So look at it very well. We have our function keyword. We gave it a name called myfunc, opening and closing bracket, colon bracket. We created our variables and the console log out name. So that's what we've done so far. So to run this, we'll get the same result. Now we are not getting anything because we've not called it. So to make our function or code one, we'll call on our function by saying myfunc. There's no myfunc1. So look at it very well. So remember, you have to call your code in order for it to run. So if I'm to run this, you see we get Dev, right? So the code is running as it should. So let me now uncomment my function 2. You can see still the same thing. We created a function on the first one, declared our variable console log. The second function, we're only console logging. So if I'm to run this, I should be seeing the first one name, right? So let me say Samuel is. So see Samuel Dave is, then the age 22 years old. So and I think what I want to log out here is not history. Let me change this to mail, which I should be seeing true. Big false. Okay. So if I'm to run this, I'm going to see error. See what is it showing? Age is not defined. But wait a minute, we declared age right here. We've created it. Age is a what? It's a variable. It's a label. A variable that's meant to represent the data called 22. So we've already created it using var. Why is it showing right here now that age is not declared? This is because we declared our variable inside of this function. But remember earlier on when it actually worked before when it was just outside this function. If I'm to bring it outside and run this code now, it's going to work perfectly. See somewhere Dave is 22 false. But if I'm to take it in, it's not going to run. This is the concept of global variable. So when you declare a variable inside a function, that variable only belongs to that function. It can only be used by that function. So it is like a wife. You know, you don't share your wife. You don't share your wife, but you can share knowledge. You can share data knowledge, right? And knowledge is what? Data. Data is knowledge, and uh, knowledge is information. So you can share knowledge, and knowledge is what? Information, right? And information is what? Data. So meaning you can share data when it is data. So the way it is now, we declared the variable inside of this function, but all these variables are a wife that sound that like a wife or a husband to this function. So you can't share them to any other person. So I want to share these variables. I don't want it to be like a husband and a wife. I want it to be as a data, because as an information. You can share your information with somebody, but you can't share your wife. So I want it to be as information. All I have to do is to declare it outside of a function, not inside of any function. So that it will be available to us globally. To do that, declare it up above or anywhere, but it should be outside of a coding block, outside of a function. So to do that, all I have to do is to say by moving it above. So you can see very well. This is what we have now. So let me move this down. Yep. So this is what we've done so far. So we created our comment. This is a single line comment. This is a multi-line comment. We created a variable up above. Now the way all this variable is now, our variables are available to us globally. So I want to give a comment to say these are global or our global variables. So these variables are globally because we declare them outside of a function. So anyone can receive or use this variable, and it's also going to be updated. So if for any reason I'm to run this code now, I'll demonstrate something right now. Let's do a quick refresh or recap of what we learned. We've declared our variable, right? And this form of declaration is global declaration because we declared it outside a function, so it is available. All our variables are available to anyone, to any function. So that is it about that. For our first function, we are saying console log what we have as name. But I want to improve this by saying this is a, let's say when it gets to the work of this function is to increase the age by saying equal to age plus 1. So the work of my func is to increase the age by 1. So we are saying age plus 1. So it's saying age is 22 plus 1, which is going to be 23. Then it's also equal to age. So there's no error in that. If you have to run, what am I doing? Okay, let me leave it like that. So this function have two roles. It has a role to increase the age by 1 and to console log name. And the second function have another role as well. It has its own role. So one is just to console log age, male, and okay, for better understanding. But let me run this first so you see it still works. see we don't get any error. Somewhere Dave is 22 false. You can see it's not working. It's actually working. Before we do that, you see it's still working. So for clarity purpose, function 1 now is only increasing the age by 1, and function 2 is displaying all what we want to display. So we are saying function 2's work is to display, function 1 is to calculate. So now in function 1 we are increasing it by 1, right? So the reason it may look like this is not working is because we are calling on it at the same time. So if I'm to call on this function first before calling on this one, I should get an increase. So what's going on? You might think this code is not working. Actually, I promise you it is working. It's even supposed to show me an error, because this is not age, this is aga. So let me change this to age, and run it one more time. Now we get 23. So sorry about that. That was a mistake. So let me see, 23. So about restructuring, which I said we also learned how to write our code in the professional way, in dealing with increment or decrement. I can also say when this work is going to decrease the age, so it's going to be 21. See 21. But there's a more professional way of doing this. If you have to increase by just 1 or decrease by 1, instead of doing this, the professional way is just to say, if it's increment, you say plus plus. If it's decrement, you say minus minus. So plus plus, run this, is going to give you 23. See, so if it is greater than 1, maybe you want to increase by 2. So if you want to do that, you say plus, then equal to. So this is the standard way of writing it. That was what we did by restructuring, plus greater than 2, and then run this 24. So that's it about restructuring, and also about global variable. So we also talk about JavaScript being dynamic. So about JavaScript being dynamic, this is what it means. Now I can come here and this, so remember function 2 work is to console log, right? So let me just leave it the way it is. Whatever changes I want to do, let it be between function 1. So I want to change the value I have as inside here. Let me change what I have in my name, the data in my name, to equal to hello world, string of hello world, hello world. So if I'm to end this, if I'm to run this now, it's not going to show me Samuel Dave, now it's going to show me hello world. So you get hello world. So you might think being dynamic means, what it means for something to be dynamic, it means you can change the data inside that variable. There's still more to being dynamic, but it means the simplest or the basic foundation is that understanding that JavaScript is dynamic in the sense that you can change your data. The data you assign to a variable, you can change it to any other data. So right here, we've not actually done that. All we did right now was to change a data to the same data. It was a string before, a string of Samuel Dave, and we also changed it to the same string to another text, hello world. So it's still a string. So that is not what being dynamic is. The very practical example of being dynamic. Now this is name. It's me changing this data from a string to another data. I can say instead of a string, I can now say boolean, which is true. I can say 100. See, in the beginning we created this variable and we fixed a data to it, and that data was a string, and the data was Samuel Dave. But now in between our code, we created a function. We said we don't want this name to be, we don't want this variable to be a string anymore. Now we want to change it to a number data type, and it is possible. It's not going to show any error. It's still going to work perfectly. Unlike some other codes out there, unlike every other code, JavaScript is dynamic. There are some coding language that don't support this. If you create a variable, you have to specify that this variable is a string and it is string for life. If it is a integer, that's a number, it is number for life. Boolean, Boolean for life. None, just like that. So, but for JavaScript, you can change a single variable over and over and over and over again. So it supports that, but for other languages, it doesn't support that. So if I'm to run this, it's still going to work. You see, now we get 100, and it is passed to us as a string. So that's it about JavaScript being dynamic. So now we've learned about variables, data type, how to assign a data to a variable. We've learned about the console, we've learned about function, we've learned about comments, we've learned about JavaScript being dynamic, we've learned about global constants, we've learned about on-click event handlers, we've learned about if statements. Now you can see this is what I mean when I said you shouldn't be intimidated by what you see in these things I said we've learned before. Now we are moving straight to math flow and math random. Then we'll also move straight to, but I think I should make this a separate video. I should make it two, so everything will not be on one video. So I'll see you in the next video.